Marriage is one of the most profound journeys two people can ever embark on. It is more than a contract, more than a social arrangement, and certainly more than a temporary partnership. Marriage is a covenant of love, a sacred commitment to walk hand in hand through life's seasons, bringing out not only the best in yourself, but also in the one you vowed to cherish. As a marriage counselor, I have sat with couples from all walks of life, some filled with joy and hope, others weary and burdened, and still others standing at the edge of giving up. What I have learned is this: at the heart of every strong, lasting marriage lies intentional effort. Love is not just something we feel, it is something we do. And when we learn to do it well, marriage becomes a source of strength, healing, and unmatched joy. This audiobook, Me and Mine, Bringing Out the Best Out of Your Spouse, was born out of a deep conviction that within every marriage lies the potential for greatness. Not perfection, but greatness. Greatness in the form of trust, intimacy, mutual respect, shared vision, and enduring love. Throughout these chapters, we will explore what it takes to nurture this kind of marriage. We'll talk about communication that builds instead of breaks, the importance of emotional support, how to embrace conflict as a pathway to deeper connection, and how forgiveness, growth, intimacy, and teamwork create an unshakable bond. Each chapter is designed to guide you, not with lofty ideals, but with practical, compassionate wisdom that you can apply in your daily life. Whether you are newly married, have weathered decades together, or are somewhere in between, this journey is for you. My goal is not to hand you quick fixes, but to walk with you as you discover the unique rhythm of your relationship and unlock the hidden treasures within it. As you listen, I encourage you to open your heart, reflect deeply, and be willing to take small but meaningful steps. Remember, no marriage is perfect, but every marriage can grow. And when you and your spouse commit to bringing out the best in each other, you will find that your union becomes not just a relationship, but a testimony of love's power to endure, transform, and inspire. May this audiobook be a companion of hope, healing, and renewal for you and the one you call mine. Me and Mine, Bringing Out the Best Out of Your Spouse. Written and published by the Zillion Pro. Chapter 1: Me and Mine, The Sacred Bond of Marriage. Marriage is not merely a social contract. It is a sacred bond that unites two individuals into one shared life. At its heart, marriage is a covenant of love, trust, and growth. When you say, "I do," you are not only pledging loyalty but also committing to bring out the best in each other. This sacred bond thrives when both partners understand that marriage is less about perfection and more about progression, becoming better together each day. Many couples begin their journey with high hopes, only to face challenges that test their patience and resolve. The truth is, every marriage will encounter seasons of joy, of routine, and even of struggle. What sustains the relationship through all of these seasons is the recognition that you are not just two individuals coexisting. You are a team, me and mine. The me represents your individuality, while the mine represents the shared responsibility of nurturing your spouse and the marriage itself. When both are balanced, marriage becomes a safe haven where love grows and potential is realized. The sacredness of marriage lies in the fact that it is the closest human relationship where vulnerability is not a weakness, but a bridge to intimacy. It is where each partner is invited to be fully known, flaws and all, yet still fully loved. In this bond, selfishness must give way to selflessness, and individual ambition must harmonize with shared vision. Marriage at its best is not about one person shining while the other dims, but about learning to shine together, illuminating each other's strengths, and walking hand in hand through both the calm and the storm. See your marriage not as a burden or a battlefield, but as a sacred partnership, a sacred bond that requires nurturing, patience, and intentional love. It is here, in this commitment to one another, that you will find the joy, strength, and fulfillment that only a healthy and thriving marriage can bring. Chapter 2: The Power of Perspective, Seeing Your Spouse Through a Loving Lens. Every marriage is shaped by perspective. The way you choose to see your spouse, whether through a lens of criticism or a lens of appreciation, determines the health and happiness of your relationship. Many couples fall into the trap of magnifying flaws while minimizing strengths. Over time, this imbalance erodes affection and builds resentment. Yet, when you deliberately shift your perspective to see your spouse through a loving lens, the atmosphere of your home changes. Love deepens, patience grows, and small irritations lose their power. Seeing your spouse through love does not mean ignoring their shortcomings or pretending conflicts do not exist. Rather, it means choosing to focus on their humanity, the good, the admirable, and the unique gifts they bring into your life. When you practice this perspective, you move from complaint to gratitude, from fault-finding to strength-spotting. Imagine how it feels for your partner to be consistently seen not just for what they lack, but for what they bring to the table. This recognition alone can ignite their desire to become an even better version of themselves. Perspective is also shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. If you repeatedly think, "My spouse never listens," or "they don't care," your interactions will naturally reflect frustration and distance. On the other hand, if you remind yourself, "My spouse is trying," or "they love me in their own way," your tone, your patience, and your actions will soften. What you choose to believe about your partner becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a counselor, I have seen marriages transformed when couples make this simple but powerful shift. Instead of assuming the worst, they start assuming the best. They replace suspicion with trust, sarcasm with encouragement, and impatience with empathy. The result is a marriage where both partners feel safe, valued, and motivated to grow. Today, I challenge you to pause and reflect. How are you seeing your spouse? Through the harsh lens of unmet expectations, or through the tender lens of love? Remember, perspective is a choice, and when you choose to see your spouse with love, you not only change the way you treat them, but you also change the very climate of your marriage. Chapter 3. Communication that builds, not breaks. Communication is the lifeline of every marriage. It is through words, tone, and even silence that love is either nurtured or neglected. A strong marriage is not built on how often couples talk, but on how well they talk to each other. Too often, couples get caught in cycles of criticism, defensiveness, or avoidance, and the result is emotional distance. But when communication is intentional, respectful, and compassionate, it becomes the very foundation upon which trust and intimacy grow. Effective communication in marriage is not about winning an argument or proving a point. It is about building understanding. The most powerful tool in communication is not speaking, but listening. Listening with empathy, without interruption, and with a genuine desire to understand your spouse's perspective opens the door to connection. When your partner feels heard, they feel valued, and when they feel valued, their love and respect for you deepen. Equally important is the tone and timing of your words. A loving truth spoken at the right time brings healing, but the same truth spoken harshly or at the wrong moment can cause wounds. As spouses, we must learn the art of choosing when to speak, how to speak, and when to simply listen. Gentle words, affirming phrases, and even silence offered with kindness can strengthen the bond between partners far more than constant criticism ever could. Practical steps can make this easier. Begin by setting aside daily moments of connection, times when phones, television, and distractions are put away. Ask open-ended questions like, "How was your day?" or "What was the best part of today for you?" Be intentional about affirming your spouse, saying things like, "I appreciate how hard you work for us," or "I love the way you handled that situation." These small but consistent affirmations build your spouse up, brick by brick, creating a marriage strong enough to weather challenges. Remember, words can either build bridges or walls. If you find yourself tempted to lash out, pause and ask, will these words heal or will they hurt? By choosing words that affirm, conversations that clarify, and tones that calm, you create communication that builds rather than breaks. Over time, you'll find that your marriage becomes a sanctuary of safety, where both of you feel free to express yourselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Chapter 4. Emotional support. the silent fuel of a flourishing marriage. Every successful marriage runs on a hidden fuel, emotional support. It is not always the grand gestures or expensive gifts that sustain love, but the quiet reassurance, the listening ear, and the steady presence of a spouse who says, through their actions, "I am here for you." Emotional support is the silent force that strengthens trust, deepens intimacy, and gives couples the courage to face life's storms together. When one partner feels emotionally neglected, marriage can feel like a lonely place, even while sharing the same home. Yet, when a spouse feels understood, encouraged, and uplifted, even difficult seasons become easier to bear. Emotional support is about more than solving problems. It is about being a safe space for your spouse's heart. Sometimes, it is less about the words you say and more about the comfort of your presence. A hand on the shoulder, a listening silence, or a gentle hug can speak volumes that words cannot. True emotional support requires attentiveness. It means paying attention to your spouse's moods, unspoken needs, and hidden struggles. It is saying, "I notice you," when the world has overlooked them. When your spouse succeeds, support celebrates with them. When they fail, support reminds them they are not defined by failure. Emotional support communicates, "You don't have to carry this alone." Couples who thrive understand that love is not tested in easy times but proven in challenging ones. If your spouse is facing stress at work, health struggles, or personal disappointments, your support can either become their anchor or their additional burden. The key is learning to ask, "What do you need from me right now?" Sometimes they may need advice, other times encouragement, and often just a quiet companion who listens without judgment. Emotional support also involves consistency. One act of kindness is not enough. It is the daily, ongoing assurance of love and presence that builds trust. When emotional support becomes a habit, your marriage transforms into a refuge where both partners feel safe, valued, and deeply connected. Remember this: a flourishing marriage is not built only on passion or romance, but on the steady, quiet fuel of emotional support. When you consistently offer it to your spouse, you give them the strength to rise higher, dream bigger, and love deeper. Chapter 5: Unlocking Your Spouse's Potential. Every spouse carries within them seeds of greatness, dreams, talents, and possibilities that may not yet be visible to the world. One of the most powerful roles you can play in your marriage is that of a supporter and encourager who helps unlock the hidden potential in your partner. When you commit not just to loving your spouse as they are, but also to believing in who they can become, you set the stage for a marriage that thrives on growth rather than stagnation. Unlocking potential begins with belief. When your spouse knows that you see something in them, even before they see it themselves, it sparks courage. Your words of affirmation can silence their inner doubts, and your consistent encouragement can give them the confidence to take steps they might otherwise avoid. For example, saying, "I believe you would be amazing at that," or "I see how talented you are in this area," can breathe life into dreams that fear has kept dormant. Support, however, is not about pushing your spouse into your vision for them. It is about nurturing their own. Encourage exploration without pressure. Create an environment where mistakes are allowed and growth is celebrated. Be the kind of partner who applauds effort as much as results, reminding your spouse that failure is not the end, but part of the process toward success. Practical ways to help unlock your spouse's potential include listening actively when they share ideas, instead of dismissing or minimizing them. Providing resources or opportunities, such as books, training, or introductions to mentors. Celebrating small wins together, so progress feels rewarding and motivating. Sharing responsibilities at home or in other areas, so they have the space and energy to pursue their goals. Remember, when one spouse flourishes, the marriage flourishes. Your role is not to mold your partner into who you think they should be, but to create a safe and empowering space for them to become the best version of themselves. This means cheering when they rise, comforting when they stumble, and walking beside them as they grow. A marriage where both partners unlock each other's potential becomes a union of vision, strength, and resilience. In such a relationship, love is not just about companionship, it is about partnership in purpose. By helping your spouse rise higher, you are also lifting your marriage into new levels of joy, achievement, and fulfillment. Chapter 6: Conflict as a Pathway to Deeper Connection. Every couple, no matter how loving, will face conflict. The presence of disagreements does not mean your marriage is broken. It means you are two unique individuals learning to build a shared life. Conflict is not the enemy. It is an opportunity. When handled with wisdom, conflict can become a doorway to greater understanding, deeper intimacy, and stronger unity. The danger lies not in the conflict itself, but in how couples approach it. Many see conflict as a battle to be won, and in doing so, they trade intimacy for victory. Others avoid conflict altogether, burying issues until resentment builds like a quiet storm. Both extremes weaken a marriage. True growth comes when couples learn to see conflict not as a battlefield, but as a classroom where lessons about patience, empathy, and forgiveness are learned. Healthy conflict requires three skills: listening, restraint, and resolution. Listening means giving your spouse the dignity of being fully heard, even when you disagree. Restraint means choosing not to lash out with hurtful words or actions in the heat of emotion. Resolution means working toward solutions, not simply reliving grievances. When these three practices guide your conflict, arguments can actually strengthen the bond rather than tear it down. It is also important to fight fair. Avoid name-calling, sarcasm, or bringing up old wounds. Focus on the issue at hand, not your spouse's character. Use I statements instead of you accusations. For example, "I feel hurt when we don't spend time together," rather than "you never make time for me." This shifts the conversation from blame to understanding. Conflict, when approached with humility, creates opportunities for vulnerability. When you admit, "I was wrong," or "I hurt you, and I'm sorry," you not only repair the immediate wound but also build trust for the future. Likewise, when you extend forgiveness, you release your marriage from the weight of yesterday and make space for healing today. Remember this: conflict is inevitable, but disconnection is not. Couples who embrace conflict as a natural part of growth learn to transform tension into closeness. They argue, but they also reconcile. They disagree, but they don't dishonor. And in the process, they discover that every resolved conflict is like a scar. It may mark the past, but it also proves that healing is possible. When you begin to see conflict as a pathway to deeper connection, you stop fearing it and start using it. You'll find that even in heated moments, love can grow stronger, understanding can widen, and your marriage can emerge more resilient than before. Chapter 7: The Language of Love: Discovering what speaks to your spouse. Love is universal, but its expression is deeply personal. Every spouse has a unique way of giving and receiving love, and discovering this language is one of the keys to a thriving marriage. Many couples struggle, not because love is absent, but because it is being spoken in a form their partner does not easily recognize. When you learn your spouse's love language, you unlock the ability to meet their deepest emotional needs in ways that make them feel truly seen and cherished. Dr. Gary Chapman's concept of the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch, offers a framework for understanding these different expressions. For one spouse, a heartfelt "I love you, I'm proud of you" may mean the world, while for another, it may be helping with chores or spending uninterrupted time together that communicates love most clearly. The mistake many couples make is assuming their spouse feels loved in the same way they do. To discover your spouse's love language, pay attention to what they complain about most often, what they request most consistently, and how they naturally express love to you. If your spouse frequently says, "You never spend time with me," their language may be quality time. If they light up when you compliment them, words of affirmation may be key. Love languages are not about guessing. They are about observing and listening with intentionality. The power of speaking your spouse's love language lies in its impact. A simple phrase like, "I appreciate how hard you work for us," can refill an emotional tank that has been running low. Holding their hand at the right moment or showing up with their favorite snack after a long day can communicate love more deeply than 1,000 general words. These small but consistent gestures tell your spouse, "I know what makes you feel loved, and I'm choosing to speak it." Of course, love languages are not meant to limit you, but to guide you. A healthy marriage thrives when spouses learn to express love in all 5 ways, while prioritizing the one that matters most to their partner. This flexibility creates a rich, layered expression of love that sustains the relationship through different seasons of life. Remember, love is not just a feeling, it is an intentional action. When you make the effort to discover and speak your spouse's love language, you remove guesswork from the relationship and replace it with clarity, joy, and intimacy. In doing so, you ensure that the love you feel in your heart is actually received in theirs. Chapter 8: Intimacy Beyond the Bedroom. When most people hear the word intimacy, their minds immediately go to physical closeness. While physical intimacy is an important and beautiful aspect of marriage, true intimacy extends far beyond the bedroom. It is about connection, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and even recreational, that makes a couple feel deeply bonded in every part of life. Marriages that thrive are those where intimacy is nurtured in multiple dimensions, not just one. Emotional intimacy is built through vulnerability, sharing fears, dreams, struggles, and victories without fear of judgment. It is in those late-night conversations, the comforting embrace during hard times, and the laughter shared over simple things that emotional closeness is born. Couples who prioritize emotional intimacy find that their bond grows stronger, even in seasons when physical closeness may be limited by stress, health, or other factors. Spiritual intimacy is another layer often overlooked. For couples of faith, this may include praying together, studying scriptures, or attending worship as a unit. For others, it may mean sharing values, meditating, or engaging in conversations about life's bigger questions. When couples connect spiritually, they align not only their lives but also their deeper sense of purpose. Intellectual intimacy is built when couples exchange ideas, discuss their goals, or learn together. Reading the same book, listening to podcasts, or engaging in meaningful conversations beyond the surface level creates a mental bond. It is about respecting and valuing your spouse's mind as much as their body. Finally, recreational intimacy grows when couples share experiences of joy and play. This could be traveling, cooking together, playing board games, or even taking a walk. These shared experiences create memories that strengthen the relationship's foundation and remind both partners that marriage is not only about responsibilities, but also about enjoying life together. When intimacy is broadened beyond the bedroom, physical intimacy itself becomes richer, because it flows from a deeper connection. Couples who nurture all dimensions of intimacy experience love not as a fleeting passion but as a steady flame, warming, guiding, and sustaining them over the years. Remember, intimacy is not automatic. It must be cultivated. It grows in the quiet moments of togetherness, in the choice to listen, in the decision to laugh, and in the courage to share. When you and your spouse commit to building intimacy in every area, your marriage becomes more than a union of two bodies. It becomes a union of two souls journeying through life as one. Chapter 9: Teamwork, Building a Shared Vision. Marriage is more than companionship. It is a partnership. And like any successful partnership, it thrives when both partners commit to a shared vision. Without vision, marriage can drift aimlessly, with each spouse pulling in different directions. But when couples embrace teamwork and align their goals, dreams, and values, they create a powerful synergy that makes them unstoppable together. A shared vision does not mean losing individuality. Instead, it means combining two unique lives into one harmonious direction. Each spouse brings their own strengths, ideas, and perspectives. When blended with respect and purpose, these differences create balance and strength. One may be the dreamer, the other the planner. One may bring creativity, the other practicality. Together, they form a team that can accomplish far more than either could alone. Teamwork in marriage begins with open and honest conversations. Ask each other, what kind of home do we want to build? What values do we want to live by? How do we want to raise our children? What financial goals should we set? What legacy do we hope to leave? These questions move couples from living reactively to living intentionally. A couple with a shared vision doesn't just survive day-to-day challenges, they navigate them with purpose. Building teamwork also requires shared responsibility. Marriage is not about keeping score, who does more, who sacrifices more, but about mutual investment. When both partners carry the weight together, resentment has little room to grow, supporting each other in careers, parenting, finances, and personal growth creates a sense of unity, where no one feels alone in the journey. Equally important is celebrating wins, both big and small, as a team. Whether it's paying off a debt, completing a project, or simply making it through a tough week, pausing to say, "We did this together," reinforces unity. These shared victories strengthen commitment and remind you that you are not opponents, but allies. At its heart, teamwork in marriage is about moving from me to we. It is about seeing your spouse not as competition, but as your most valuable teammate. When you commit to building a shared vision and walking toward it hand in hand, your marriage becomes more than a relationship. It becomes a purposeful partnership, a force of love and unity that shapes your future and inspires those who see you. Chapter 10: Forgiveness and Healing, Releasing the Weight of Yesterday. Every marriage carries a history, moments of joy, moments of struggle, and moments of hurt. No matter how strong the bond, misunderstandings, mistakes, and disappointments are inevitable. The danger lies not in the hurt itself, but in allowing it to linger. Unresolved pain becomes a weight that slowly drains love, joy, and trust from a relationship. Forgiveness and healing are the keys to releasing that weight and restoring freedom to your marriage. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or pretending that the offense never happened. Rather, it is the conscious choice to let go of bitterness, resentment, and the need for revenge. It is saying, "I will not allow this wound to define our future." True forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength because it requires humility, grace, and courage. By forgiving, you free not only your spouse but also yourself from the prison of past pain. Healing, however, is a process. While forgiveness may be a decision, healing takes time. A wound, once inflicted, does not disappear overnight. It must be cared for, revisited, and given space to recover. This means having honest conversations, expressing emotions safely, and patiently rebuilding trust. It may require setting healthy boundaries, seeking counseling, or practicing empathy by trying to see the situation through your spouse's eyes. Healing is not linear, but when both partners commit to it, reconciliation becomes possible. The pathway to forgiveness and healing often begins with acknowledgement. The offending spouse must take responsibility, offering not excuses, but genuine remorse. A sincere apology opens the door for restoration. On the other side, the wounded spouse must be willing to receive that apology and gradually open their heart again. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it does redeem it by allowing love to write a new chapter. In practice, couples who forgive and heal are not those who never hurt each other, but those who refuse to stay stuck in yesterday. They choose to release rather than relive. They remind themselves that their marriage is bigger than the mistake and that grace can turn even pain into growth. Remember this: forgiveness is a gift you give not only to your spouse but also to your marriage. Without it, love becomes heavy with suspicion and regret. With it, love regains its lightness, its joy, and its resilience. Healing restores intimacy and forgiveness restores freedom. Together, they allow you to release the weight of yesterday so you can embrace the promise of tomorrow, hand in hand, with renewed hope. Chapter 11: The Joy of Growth Together. One of the greatest gifts of marriage is the opportunity to grow, not just individually but together. Growth is the evidence of life. A marriage that remains stagnant eventually withers, but a marriage that embraces learning, evolving, and stretching together becomes stronger, more resilient, and more fulfilling over time. When two people unite in marriage, they bring with them their past experiences, values, strengths, and weaknesses. Over time, they encounter life's joys and challenges, career shifts, raising children, financial struggles, health scares, and personal transitions. Each of these moments provides fertile ground for growth. But here lies the key. Couples who choose to embrace growth together discover a joy that is unmatched by any individual success. Growth begins with openness. To grow together, couples must first embrace a posture of openness. Openness means being willing to listen, to learn, and to adapt. It means recognizing that your spouse today may not be the same person they were 5 or 10 years ago, and that's a good thing. Life shapes us, and growth changes us. The joy lies in walking that journey side by side, supporting one another through the seasons of transformation. Learning together. Shared learning creates shared experiences. Whether it's attending a marriage workshop, reading the same book, learning a new skill, or even exploring a new hobby, the act of learning together builds intimacy. It says, we are not only partners in life, we are partners in discovery. Each time you grow in knowledge or skills side by side, you weave new threads of connection into the fabric of your relationship. Overcoming challenges as a catalyst for growth. Challenges are often disguised opportunities for growth. A financial crisis can teach teamwork and trust. A disagreement can teach humility and empathy. A health issue can teach patience and compassion. Couples who see challenges not as threats but as invitations to grow discover joy even in difficult times. Together, they emerge stronger, with deeper respect and appreciation for one another. Celebrating each other's progress. Growth is not always measured in milestones like promotions, degrees, or financial achievements. Sometimes it is found in the little victories, your spouse learning patience, overcoming fear, becoming more disciplined, or deepening their faith. Celebrating your partner's progress, no matter how small, brings joy because it affirms that you see them, value them, and cheer for their becoming. Growing spiritually and emotionally together. Spiritual and emotional growth are at the heart of a flourishing marriage. When couples commit to shared practices, such as prayer, meditation, reflective conversations, or even gratitude rituals, they cultivate not just personal depth but relational depth. This creates a sense of us that is bigger than me and you. The joy of shared legacy. The ultimate joy of growth together is legacy. When couples grow intentionally, they leave behind more than material wealth. They leave behind wisdom, values, and an example of enduring love for their children, family, and community. Growth ensures that your marriage is not just a relationship, but also a living testimony of love's power to evolve, adapt, and flourish. Remember, the joy of growth together is knowing that every season, whether joyful or challenging, has the potential to make your bond deeper and your love richer. It is understanding that marriage is not a destination, but a journey of continual becoming. When you and your spouse commit to growth, you discover the profound joy of not just living life side by side, but truly becoming better together. Chapter 12. A marriage that brings out the best. As we open the last chapter of this book, let us pause to reflect on what marriage truly is. At its core, marriage is not merely about companionship, meeting needs, or sharing responsibilities. It is about bringing out the best in yourself, in your spouse, and in the sacred bond that unites you. A strong marriage is not one without flaws, disagreements, or struggles. Rather, it is one in which two imperfect people commit to growing, forgiving, loving, and uplifting each other every day. When couples embrace this truth, marriage becomes not a burden, but a blessing, a safe haven where each partner feels valued, supported, and free to become the fullest version of themselves. Choosing we over me. The foundation of a marriage that brings out the best is the shift from me to we. Selfishness drains relationships, but selflessness nourishes them. Each time you choose us over me, you water the roots of your union. This does not mean losing yourself. Rather, it means finding your truest self in the joy of loving and being loved. Marriage as a mirror and a refining fire. Your spouse is both a mirror, reflecting back your strengths and weaknesses, and a refining fire, challenging you to grow beyond your comfort zone. Instead of resisting these reflections, embrace them. Allow your spouse's presence to stretch you, refine you, and bring forth your highest character. A safe place for dreams. The best marriages create an environment where dreams are nurtured, not crushed. In such a marriage, spouses champion one another's aspirations, encourage personal development, and celebrate victories. They do not compete but complete each other, building a life where both can shine. The ripple effect of a thriving marriage. A marriage that brings out the best does not only bless the couple, it blesses children, families, and communities. It models love, respect, and resilience to a watching world. When your marriage thrives, it inspires hope in others that love is not only possible but powerful. The ongoing commitment. Finally, remember that marriage is not a one-time decision but a daily choice. Each morning you wake up, you have the opportunity to love your spouse better, to listen more deeply, to forgive more freely, and to encourage more intentionally. The small, consistent acts of love are what make a marriage extraordinary. Closing reflection. A marriage that brings out the best is not built overnight. It is built day by day, choice by choice, and moment by moment. It is the product of patience, intentionality, and unwavering commitment to each other's good. As you walk forward from here, may your marriage not only endure but flourish. May it be a place of joy, healing, strength, and growth. And above all, may it bring out the best in both of you. For in bringing out the best in one another, you discover the very best of what marriage was created to be.